I don't know if they'll give us the numbers, but it looks as though when we look back at this past Memorial Day weekend that we just wrapped up, it's probably going to be even busier than they told us it was going to be. I think anyway, just judging from personal experience, because, man, it was busy. And it's great. It's a great sign for the economy, actually. I was even late getting going with the live stream because this is the day where, if you are going to work, things start a little later, don't they? Good time to take vacation. But the great news is it's a 4-day work week if you're still working a 9 to 5. So that's all good. We'll talk about that as well. Hey, thanks for finding Wicked Radio live stream, part of Wicked Wisdom with Bill Adams. All the social media platforms. Throw a like and share on there. And the audio podcast, too, will be posted right after the show, wherever you like to get your podcasts. But thanks for being here, as always. I appreciate it so much. And I hope you had a happy, safe Memorial Day weekend. We talked about it yesterday. It's completely possible to balance the two. You know, you honor those who gave the ultimate sacrifice while still having a good time. That's what it's all about. But I think, anyway, I don't know. I hope we see some numbers on this because it was amazing. Okay, the traffic was heavy. I get it. Maybe you're even still caught in traffic now, trying to get back into your regular work life. Maybe. But it was busy. Gas prices, a little bit lower. Talked about that on Friday. Travel was up. Food prices about steady. But one thing is for sure, if that many people in the country were out and about spending for the first time in probably years for a lot of people driving somewhere. And AAA always says 50 miles or more. If that many people are that confident about spending some coin going somewhere for a little mini vacation or the start of a full vacation, it's a pretty good sign for the way things are going. Consumer confidence. And so much of it's psychological, isn't it? It's like you believe things are going to get better, more willing to spend right now because you know you're going to make it up on the back end. So things seem to be turning around. All right, there's something that happened yesterday I didn't get to because it was mostly about Memorial Day, but it was a really sad loss. You know, I was never a big fan of the Duck Dynasty show. You know, I watched it every once in a while, but it was just one of those reality shows. It was just fun and goofy and, you know, it was definitely kind of scripted, whatever. But there's part of this that kind of made a big impact into American culture. You know, and they were always called rednecks, but they wore that proudly. And, you know, Duck Dynasty was the Robertson family. They actually, you'd never know by the show, but they were multi-millionaires because they had a company that made their little duck calls for duck hunting, right? From Monroe, Louisiana, you know, family that's been around for years. Well, they had that reality show, Duck Dynasty. Became a big hit and went on. We lost Phil Robertson, their patriarch of their family, over the weekend. The family announced it. And I guess he was 79. I think he had been battling. It might have been cancer. I'm not too sure. But here's how this show made it into popular culture. So very early on in the first administration for Trump, and then in the 2020 campaign, we know what happened there. And then all the way throughout, the entire family, but mostly Phil Robertson. He was the older guy, you know. He was in his 70s. I think he died at 79. Yeah, he passed away, but he had been a big, big Trump supporter. And they all did. And they showed up at the rallies. In fact, here's one of the rallies. This one was when Trump came to, I think this was actually in 2020, but he had been to a lot of them. When the Trump campaign rolled into Louisiana, this is what he said.
I got it down to this. If you're pro-God and pro-America and pro-gun and pro-duck hunting, that's all I want.
That pretty much sums it up, doesn't it? I bring that up because I don't know, after paying attention to this for so long, I don't know if there was any one particular, and we'll call him a celebrity, okay, that's fine, whatever, just to simplify things. I don't know if there was one celebrity endorsement in particular that got mocked and is railed against by the left-wing media as much as the Duck Dynasty folks, and Phil Robertson specifically for endorsing Trump. And I remember at the time when it started, because this is when, remember, it took a while. If you recall back, it wasn't the first campaign where you had where you had the Kid Rocks of the world and you had the very few, maybe like John Voight, considered conservative entertainers, whatever it was. That didn't happen at first. It did with this Robertson guy, Phil Robertson. He was not afraid whatsoever in throwing his support behind, the big bad orange man as he was being painted at the time. He wasn't afraid of that. Once somebody like him got into the water and others, then all of a sudden it became like less dangerous for celebrities to show up at rallies and tell you how they feel about different things. But when he was first in there, I remember it was specifically when it happened, how many shows. I think it was Jake Tapper on CNN, The View for sure, those hacks on the View, making fun of that guy for What? I don't know. You tell me how he looks, how he sounds, and throwing his support behind Trump. Remember early on when Trump was running the first time, they were saying, "Oh, this is what Trump relates to. This is what he appeals to," and they're in a very passive aggressive way trying to make fun of Southern culture and make fun of what they were calling rednecks at the time, and to do that. Remember that really early on. And they took a lot of shots at that, and they didn't care, and they pushed through. That was the first time I ever really, truly thought, this was years ago now, wow, they don't understand who the Trump base is. They really don't get it. And you hear the reaction to a rally like that, and that was many years ago now. Phil Robertson proudly standing up for Trump and what he believes in, and other people saying, yeah, that is what we believe in. We don't care what you think. It showed how underrepresented so many people in this country have and still are, really. That the deplorables, as Hillary called them, right? The people in the flyover states, the border states that the media didn't care about, that the Northeast media centers didn't care about, or Hollywood and L.A. That was one of the guys that became really important in coming out and saying what he believes. And like I said, if you think back now, he was one of the first. All of the Robertsons from Duck Dynasty, he was one of the first. And they didn't get it, and they still don't get it. And I even saw, I bring this up because I saw this over the weekend still, just a little bit of coverage on Phil Robertson, R.I.P., passing over the weekend. I still saw some of that in the media coverage of him, in the mainstream media coverage of him. Southern redneck influencer, they were trying to call him, Phil Robertson, big Trump supporter, passes at 79. And I thought they still don't understand really who the Trump base is. It's just regular America. They completely forgot about him. This is the same media that didn't care about immigration whatsoever until they started coming to the cities that affected them, when it was just those southern states, those flyover states, the middle part of the country. Nobody cared about that until it affected them directly. So even still, I still don't think they understand what the Trump base is. I really don't, or why he has so much appeal to so many people. Because you never would have thought years ago that a Monroe, Louisiana man like Phil Robertson would have come out for a New York businessman, right? We thought in American culture that would never happen. Well, it goes to show you, if you have the same Americana values, like he said there, he goes, that's all I want. That's what had been missing for so long. And that's what still to this day, I think the media still doesn't understand. They still don't understand the appeal to Trump because they can't wrap their heads around it. They can't do it. Anyway, speaking of Trump, a little bit of news. There's not much going on today as we're all trying to get back to our regular everyday working lives. But in the middle of all the stuff he did over the weekend, he went to West Point. He had the commencement address there. And to Arlington National Cemetery. Of course, you have to do that for Memorial Day. It's pretty standard operating procedure, and you should do it. He also made this statement and some moves. It's against Harvard, but really it represents what's been happening in academia here and where our money's going and who's benefiting from it and who isn't kicking in their share. Two different things are happening here. The one that got the most controversial response in the courts, the activist judges are fighting against, was to limit the amount of foreign international students that we pay for. Forget about that with grants. Coming to Harvard. And he's picking on Harvard because it's the biggest name still of all the Ivy League schools, right? That, number one. And number two, floating that idea that I think is absolutely brilliant. What if we took that money, those grants that we, and I mean we because it's taxpayer money eventually, give to Harvard and we put it towards trade schools, which is a great idea and one that should have been proposed a long, long time ago. But he talked about, this is one of those, it's hard to hear, middle of the field audio clips because he was in front of Marine One. I think this is when he was going to the West Point Military Academy, but he had talked about Harvard because they were asking him about it. Here's Trump in explaining his way, because the headlines didn't tell us this. Oh, why are you picking on foreign students? So why are you, well, there's a reason behind it, and it's twofold. Because Harvard's not paying their share, and the countries that benefit from foreign students learning American technology and then going back, they're not paying anything at all. This is what he said.
Part of the problem with Harvard is that there are about 31%, almost 31% of foreigners coming to Harvard. We give them billions of dollars, which is ridiculous. We do grants, which we're probably not going to be doing much grants anymore to Harvard. but they're 31%, but they refuse to tell us who the people are. We want to know who the people. Now, a lot of the foreign students we wouldn't have a problem with. I'm not going to have a problem with foreign students, but it shouldn't be 31%. It's too much because we have Americans that want to go there and to other places, and they can't go there because you have 31% foreign. Now, no foreign government contributes money to Harvard. We do.
Well, isn't that something? Wouldn't you like to know at least that? And I always kind of assumed, I really did. Shame on me, but who the hell knew? We never looked into this before. I always assumed that a lot of the foreign governments, the foreign countries that actually subsidize these kids when they get home, were paying for their Harvard education too. Oh, no, that's not the case apparently. We are. We have been. We are. And he clarified that, too, because you know exactly what the headlines were, and they are when it is. Trump attacks foreign students, pounces on foreign governments, and another blow to international relations. No, that's not the case at all. In fact, he explained it right there. There's no problem with them as long as, what a big ask this is. Can we at least find out who they are? I mean, is that possible? Can we find out who's here? Along with the fact that we know what happened to Harvard. Just because they're not in the front lines and the headlines of this doesn't mean that they weren't guilty of it. One of the first campuses that was fully stepping aside as pro-Hamas organizations were keeping Jewish kids out of their classes. That happened at Harvard first, when the president finally got fired. Well, she didn't really get fired. She just got moved to a different, department, a different hallway in a different office in Harvard. She's still there. President Gay of Harvard. She's still there. And it's happened on other campuses as well. So if we were able to just find out who some of the foreign students are, maybe who's funding them, what organizations they're connected to, is that too much to ask if they're taxpayer funded? Really, is that too much to ask? I bet you we're going to find out a lot of they're here and not doing good things. And those are the ones we can weed out. I'm completely fine with this, especially when you find out that we're funding a lot of this with taxpayer money. But the more important thing, even more than that, I love what he's talking about. If Harvard, my heart bleeds for Harvard. So they're going to have to make money on their own without grants. How would they be able to do it? Like he said, they get billions of dollars. What if we took the grant money, and I love this, and finally we were able to do it. The idea has floated around for a while. Let's promote trade schools and fund that as well. No one's been able to figure it out. Well, that's going to be another tax. How do we take it out of a budget bill? No more money coming from the American people. You don't have to. Take some of the money that's going to the Ivy League schools, such as Harvard, and put it towards these trade schools. And the political elites will mock this up and down. And here's my message to you. Don't listen to them, because these are the same people that have told us for decades now, 50, 60, 70 years, how long, that, well, we should downgrade going to a trade school, and you should go to a 4-year education program like Harvard, and that's what it is. Let me tell you something. These are the same people that pushed for all of these decades useless degrees, racking up college debt. It's a grift. It's a scam for a lot of this. These are all of these universities. It's not just Ivy League schools. They're all subsidized by student loans. So there's no reason whatsoever to compete with each other for pricing. They're subsidized. They can charge as much as they want, and they'll keep on doing it. In many cases, putting kids into student debt. They're mad at the Trump administration for stopping, student debt relief and paying off student loans. Why don't you focus that on the colleges that have done nothing to keep their costs down? Make them compete. Make them compete. And the second most important thing is, I've been a believer in this for years, and now it's finally possible. Promote the idea of trade schools and make them fit for the modern world. Robotics are going to be massive. They are already. Get kids into robotics things, or electrician, or a plumber, whatever it is. I know plenty of people who went to trade schools, and they were mocked at the time. Aren't you smart enough to get into a 4-year? No, plenty smart enough, but this is what he chooses. You know how many of those people that I knew and grew up with now are millionaires because they started their own companies in their 20s? We have to get over this idea of putting down trade schools. It's terrible. I remember this distinctively, and you might have had a grandparent like this as well. You should always have a trade you can fall back on. Like a lot of older folks that came out of the Depression, or they remember it as kids, they were big believers in trade schools. Have a trade. Believe in a trade. So you can always fall back on in case things don't go well on Wall Street. Well, how smart were they? If we start to get over this stigma of putting down trade schools over 4 years, it's not right for everybody. College isn't right for everybody. Doesn't matter. We start getting over that stigma of putting them down and to start funding them the right way as we should and make those available for opportunity for kids, we're going to be well down the road in fixing what we can do with this economy. I love what he's doing. This might be one of the most important things I think Trump has ever discussed. And I don't know whether he's going to get there, but he's put the thought into society now where maybe with all this tax money, maybe with the billions of dollars, it should go less to the four-year schools, like in the Ivy League schools, and more to the hands-on training trade schools for kids. Why not? We're all talking about bringing manufacturing back to this country. Why don't we support trade schools and working with your hands just as much as we support Ivy League schools? We should. 100% should. My grandma was right. You can always fall back on a trade, right? Right. There's another thing we got to do. Speaking of kids, and this kind of blends into it. You know, I'm a big proponent of self-defense for everybody. I think, and I think I've mentioned this like at least 10 times in the live stream as it pops up, the whole bullying issue in schools, you want to get rid of that? You know what to do? Teach them all how to fight. Well, that's and here again is the misunderstanding. Well, that's terrible. You can't teach violence in school, but you're not. And that's the misunderstanding. It's like mutually assured destruction. If you've ever been on a mat anywhere in a karate center, taekwondo, Muay Thai, Krav Maga, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, any of it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you spar somebody or you train with somebody, all of a sudden you're best friends after because you've both put something, you got skin in the game, and you've been on the mat and it's mutual respect. That's what needs to be taught in schools, that skill to be able to do it. Replace the ridiculous things we do in gym classes and teach kids how to actually defend themselves and apply it to the real world. And you see it more and more often these days, don't you? How many stories have we brought up where some kid somewhere defends him or herself because of what he or she learned? Case in point, we got another one. Now, yesterday, this story came out of Carmel by the Sea, California. It's got a beautiful community. I was looking at some of the video here. That the place where she trains that's a nice-looking studio, let me tell you. Overlooking the ocean, amazing. But you got a 13-year-old kid, and she was apparently, sadly, attacked as she was walking home from school, and some creeper jumped out between two cars, went to hit her. But because she's been training now for 3 years in jiu-jitsu, she was able to not only block that, hit him, wrapped him up, side controlled him, threw him to the ground, I think stomped on his foot too, and was able to get away. And the guy is still at large, but they have a pretty good description because of what she was able to do. Now think about the alternative and how scary this could have been for this kid and her parents if she didn't know what she was doing and have the confidence to take on the creeper that attacked her. But she did know. How often do we hear these stories now? They pop up. There's at least a few of them every single month of kids especially, but women and ordinary citizens, people everywhere, defending themselves because of what they trained on and what they learned. It happens all the time now. And for a feeling of self-confidence to know that you can handle yourself or at least be able to put up a fight in that kind of situation, there's nothing more valuable. No matter what you train in, no matter what. Now, here's this kid's instructor, her jiu-jitsu instructor, because they're not going to talk to the kid. She's a minor. And he's very chill, but he's her sensei. And he said you don't hear this part, at the end of it, he said, I'm proud of her because she trained exactly how she would need to face this situation in real life. But here's the jiu-jitsu instructor for the kid that saved herself in Carmel by the Sea. This is what he said about it.
Halfway home, a gentleman was standing in between two cars, and he stepped out to punch her in the face. She punched him. She wrapped it, got him in a headlock, kneed him a couple of times, spun him around, threw him on the ground, and she had stepped on his foot doing all this, and when she threw him to the ground, she broke his ankle. I told her we were proud of her, and she did exactly what she was supposed to do.
I love it. Exactly what she was supposed to do. And that's the thing. And I'm telling you, if you're a parent and you happen to live or your kid goes to school in an area that's known for either physical attacks or people being harassed or whatever, nothing will give you as a parent more confident than having your kids train in something. And jiu-jitsu is great because everybody can do it, and it's great exercise for the kids. But for everybody, how this applies, I'm telling you, just pay attention to it. And once you start to see these stories and pay attention to them, there's so many of them now. And it's great. I call them feel-good stories. People defending themselves because of how they trained on something. Now, the next level, of course, for gun defense, you can take it that way. But even at a lower level, I'm telling you, I will jump on my soapbox till the day I die advocating for teaching this in schools to all kids. That's what we should do. That's what physical education should be. It should combine self-defense. You want to stop bullying? Teach them all how to fight. It's the opposite of what you would expect. I love that story. Fantastic. That, and the other takeaway is rethink how we think of schools. You know, all you're gonna see, and the media attack dogs are gonna be all over the place with Trump and his 2 proposals. Limit the amount of money we give all to these Ivy League schools and the foreign students who come in, and we don't even know who the hell they are, and we're paying for them. You're paying for them. Rethink that, and the whole idea of putting it into trade schools. And we should all do it. Never put down a trade school. It's a great idea. All right. That, don't take any crap from anybody. Like that kid in California. Thanks for finding the live stream. I appreciate it. Welcome back to the working world. It's only a 4-day work week, so that's the good news. Also, thanks for finding the Wicked Radio live stream, part of Wicked Wisdom with me, Bill Adams. All the socials, make sure you hit like and share and all that good stuff. I'll have the audio podcast up just a few minutes. Takes a little while to post, but we'll get that up and going as well. We're already underway. It's a Tuesday that feels like a Monday, but make it a wicked awesome one. We'll talk to you tomorrow.